In this webinar, we're going to take a quick look at the hotspot feature in code. So if we go and have a quick look into code here, the hotspot feature you will find in free code in Gibbon and Gorilla level. So if I click on Gibbon and launch, and I go to the design area here, you will see I've got Hotspot available for me to use. Hotspots work a little bit like collision detection. So if you've been working through the chimp level, you'll see you'll have done the princess and the frog. So here you can see when you click the princess moves right, but when the princess collides with the frog, so this is collision detection, the princess stops. And in this case, the frog's image is set to a prince. So we click on princess, she moves along, and when she gets to the frog, he turns into a prince. Hotspots work in a similar way. So first of all, let's add the hotspot. So I'm just going to put a background on here. Find a suitable background. Okay. And I'm going to add a hotspot. Now I want this hotspot to be the pond. So can you see I've dropped the hotspot on, but I can resize it by just dragging from the corners and the edges. So there's my pond. Okay. It's given it a name, my hotspot 1, but I'm just going to call it pond. Okay. I'm now going to put an animal in here. I'm actually going to use a frog, but if I click on the animal and just drag it in, I just click on the image of the animal because I actually want that to be a frog. So there's my frog. He's a bit big, so I'm going to change his size a little bit there. And instead of him being called my animal 1, I'm going to call him frog. Then I'll know exactly what he is. And I'm also going to go down the bottom here and I'm going to say yes to make him draggable. That means I'll be able to drag him round the screen. Okay, so I'm now going to go back into the coding window, and you can see here I've got the ability to add a hotspot. Now I can decide what happens when the object enters the hotspot and what happens when it leaves the hotspot. Okay, so I can drag hotspot enter on here, so I can say when the frog, so you can see the when like the collision detection, which is when it bumps into something. In this case, it's when it enters the pond. Then I want the frog to maybe disappear because he goes into the pond. And it might be a sound when he goes into the pond. So I'm just going to click on there. I haven't actually got a splash sound, so I'm just going to record splash. Okay. And then I can decide what happens when the frog leaves this pond. So I can just put hotspot leave when frog leaves the pond. Then the frog, what's going to happen to the frog? He's going to show again. And maybe there's going to be, he's going to make a sound as well. Maybe he's going to go cribbit. So again, I'll record cribbit, cribbit. There you go. So if I click run, you can see here's my frog. I'm holding the mouse down. I'm dragging him into the pond. Splash! He's gone into the pond. Cribbit, cribbit. He's come out the pond. Splash! Cribbit, cribbit. Okay. So that's basically how the hotspots work. You can decide what happens when the object enters the pond and what happens when it leaves. Let's have a couple of examples that I've done before. So if you could create a counting game. So here's one I made earlier. And here I've created a number variable so that it will actually count. And if I click run, can you add 3 bees to the yellow flowers? So here I can drag 1 bee. You can see there's 1 shown on the screen. 2 bees.
Well done. You made 3.
Okay, so I can make simple.
Can you add 3 bees to the yellow flowers?
Simple counting game. I can try another one here. One of my colleagues sent me this big bad wolf. So if we run this one, here comes the big bad wolf. Drag him to the houses to find his lunch. So when we drag him over here, yum. Pig is safe in the house. And if I click stop here and design, you'll see what my colleague has done here is they've put hotspots on each of the houses. So every time the wolf arrives at a house, something different will happen. So you can make some very interesting and exciting games and activities by using hotspots. I hope that was useful for you. I've included a handout with this webinar, and enjoy having a play with hotspots.